Welcome to the 2016 meeting of our Chattanooga Area Chamber of Commerce. We've got an exciting program today. In our time together, we're going to briefly review the year we've just ended, thank a number of those who helped us deliver in our value commitment to our members, and our agenda includes contributions from our mayors and our Governor Bill Haslam through his message today as well. Importantly, we count on our sponsors and our volunteers to help us reach our goals. For this event today, it's a matter of paying for your lunch. I would like to give special thanks then to our Platinum, Presenting, and Gold sponsors, and these names are also on the back of your program today, which is at your seat. Elliott Davis DeCosimo, EPB, Sandler Training, Blue Cross Blue Shield of Tennessee, the Chattanooga Airport, Volkswagen, Comcast, Nova Copy, the Tennessee Aquarium, and Unum. Please join me in a show of thanks to our sponsors. It's my pleasure now to introduce both our invocator and our national anthem singer. Ann Weeks will give our invocation. Ann serves as the deacon for outreach at St. Paul's Episcopal Church in downtown Chattanooga. Haley Graham will perform our national anthem. As you'll see in just a second, Haley has to be a native of Nashville, but now considers her home, and she works at Erlanger Health Center.
Please join me in prayer. Gracious God, we give you thanks today for the many blessings you have bestowed upon us. We ask that you look with compassion on your whole human family. Take away the arrogance and hatred that can infect our hearts. Break down the walls that can separate us, and unite us in bonds of love that we may accomplish your purposes on earth and serve you in harmony. Bless and guide all who hold leadership in our community and state. We thank you for the leadership of Governor Bill Haslam. Be with him as he speaks with us today. We ask that you bless this food in the hands that have prepared and served it, that we may use it to continue the work you have given us to do as we strive to create a better world. In the meantime, please continue your blessings upon us, that we may be a blessing to others. It is in your holy name we pray. Amen.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
So let me briefly highlight some key measurements of the Chamber's involvement in the year just ended. But first I want to acknowledge and appreciate the contributions of all of our elected officials in the work that we do together, without whose help my report here would be much different. Thank you to Mayor Burke and the City Council. Thank you to Mayor Coppinger and the County Commission. Thank you, our local representatives to the Tennessee State Legislature. I saw Representative McCormick, Senator Watson, Representative Hazelwood, and I think I saw Representative Gravitt come in. Thank you all for everything that you do to make our work look so much easier. Thanks to Beth Jones from the Southeast Tennessee Development District for also bringing our partners in our Thrive 55 regional initiative. These mayors and elected county executives represent Bledsoe County, Bradley County, McMinn County, Marion County, Polk County, Sequatchie County, and Ray County. Thank you all for being here as well. Also with us today, we welcome Congressman Chuck Fleischmann and Senator Bob Corker. Thank you all for the public service that you give and the support that you provide to this chamber and also to all of our communities. And so let's look at the year just ended. I think you know that the Chamber's first mission is to deliver a high-value proposition to our membership. In addition to our business roles, 2,000 members of the Chamber also represent more than 80,000 employees and their families in our communities. That is a broad scope. We facilitated business action at over 200 events during the year. Our Chamber ambassadors conducted more than 3,400 member contacts during the year. Our 12 Chamber councils filled key roles in communicating the work and the key initiatives of our business community. And they assisted the downtown Chamber, our Chamber headquarters, with our mission and our purpose and our strategies. We redoubled our workforce development efforts with all of our community stakeholders, and together with teachers and volunteers, presented career development programs to over 15,000 students and their families in the last 12 months. We continued to conduct and assist businesses with job fairs, at least one per week through the summer after high school graduations. Our diversity and our inclusion program netted significant results this year for our businesses owned by minorities, by women, and by veterans, evidenced only in part by the more than 1,300 people who participated in our diversity marketplace exchange, which resulted in new business relationships with these participants. Workforce development is a key component of our Communities 2.0 education initiative, a critical success component for the future of our young people, their families, and our current and future economic development abilities and successes. As we focus on leadership development as well, Leadership Chattanooga had record applications this year, and now more than 1,200 current and future community leaders have graduated from this program. And along the way, in just the last 5 years, they have completed significant service projects with more than 20 of our Hamilton County schools. Evidencing all this in our membership value statement, we added over 300 new members this year. That's almost 15% of where we were this time last year. At your table, you'll find copies of our new annual report. Please take this with you and share it. You'll see key measurements of our involvement in economic development. You'll see new direct investment of $242 million. You'll see more than 1,200 direct new jobs and hundreds of more indirect jobs. You'll see the addition of world-class companies, large and small, to our local business base, and the addition of emerging leaders in innovation and technology. We champion the success of our Innovation District and our Business Incubator, now celebrating its 28th year. The success stories of these startups are too numerous to list here today. We focus as well on our business partners in our largest existing industries: healthcare, the insurances, banking, transportation, hospitality, the automotive space, and others. Without their growth in this region, our story would be different. It's important, too, to point out that Hamilton County issued again this year over 2,300 new business licenses, no small measure on its own. These efforts are working, and together with efforts in inclusion and diversity in our community, we have much to celebrate, while there's always much more to be done. Humility aside now, it's important to economic development efforts to tell our community story. It's the Chamber's role to assist in marketing our initiatives beyond this region. After doubling our efforts this year to tell those who listen to the story, we included these business leaders, Bloomberg Radio, CNN, Money Magazine, Forbes, BBC, the New York Times, and the Wall Street Journal, and more. This work produced more than 406 million impressions, double the number I told you about last year today, all of which are your stories and your accomplishments, and our community stories and our community accomplishments. Now let's move forward with our program. It's my pleasure to introduce Mayor Coppinger and Mayor Burke to present the first Mayor's Arts Award.
Thank you, Bill, and thank you to the Chamber for inviting us to your annual event and allowing us to include this first annual Mayor's Awards for the Arts. I am proud to be here with you today with 10 other businesses, and I'm joined here from members of our Hamilton County Commission. They're sitting right here in the middle of the room with Commissioner Jim Fields, Commissioner Sabrina Smedley, Commissioner Joe Graham, Commissioner Warren Mackey, and Commissioner, soon-to-be Assessor, Marty Haynes. Again, showing their support for the arts. And the reason that Mayor Burke and I are here to present this first award for the arts is because we realize and recognize early on that the arts are an economic engine to Hamilton County and to the city of Chattanooga. And this award is for people and companies, I should say, that's gone above and beyond supporting our local arts in Hamilton County and the Chattanooga. And as we all know, what this does, it presents an opportunity to make our community richer in the arts and also attractive to businesses and to people that share in our willingness and wanting to attract people here for a number of reasons for that economic engine that I talked about. Let me just give you a couple of really quick numbers. The economic impact here in Hamilton County for support, it supports about 3,800 jobs. That's it's over $106 million that it brings to the community. It generates $4.5 million local dollars of revenues that come in, and from the state, from the federal revenue is about $7.5 million. And it also attracts an audience here of about 2.2 million people, of which about a third of those people come in from outside of Hamilton County. Again, investing in our community, helping that as an economic, engine. I've had the privilege of telling you a little bit about what the award is. It is the first annual award. I'm going to turn it over to Mayor Burke, who's going to make the presentation of our first recipient, one of the businesses that we're all familiar with. Again, it comes as no surprise to any of us of how they continuously step up and promote the things in our community that make us the community that we are. So with that, I want to introduce to you City of Chattanooga Mayor Andy Burke.
Well, I know that the minute that Mayor Coppinger and I got up here, everybody thought they're going to talk about art, right? Truthfully, we know that art is an essential part of our brand. We were called the scenic city for most of our existence. The reason for that is because beauty and aesthetics are really important to how people think about Chattanooga. And certainly now Senator Corker, then Mayor Corker, did so much to help establish the art brand of our city, which was carried on and now is embraced by Mayor Coppinger and so many leaders in our city. I want to make sure that I acknowledge some of those who are sitting here and joining me today, and that is Vice Chair Jerry Mitchell, Councilman Chris Anderson, Councilman Ken Smith, Councilman Larry Groen, and Councilwoman Carol Burst. Please give them a round of applause for their support of the arts. We are a valley surrounded by mountains with a river that cuts right through the middle of it. One of the most beautiful places on God's green earth. And so what we've done is build our brand in part around this natural asset that we have. And part of that is through a community embrace of the arts, not just one sector, government or private industry or nonprofits, but each of them contributing in their own way. And so Mayor Coppinger and I wanted to establish the first Mayor's Award for the Arts to recognize the unique role that businesses play in promoting that brand for our city. As Mayor Coppinger pointed out, the first recipient of this award is a business that does tremendous good on a variety of fronts for our community, and that is Unum. Let me go through just a couple of ways that Unum really contributes to the arts here in our community. Through a decades-long partnership with the Hunter Museum, Unum provides free admission for all their employees. That's fantastic. They also recognize the role that arts plays in the development of our young people, and so within a 50-mile radius, they provide free year-round admission for all K-12 students. Please give them a round of applause for that. Unum invests heavily in Arts Build, and therefore their 12 partnership organizations which span the gamut of different types of art in our community. And 2 years ago, Unum increased their supports of the art by making a significant investment that allows 3,000 Hamilton County first graders to have a meaningful art experience each and every year. Now, it's not just that. Through their employees, they make sure that whatever the art experience is out there, that they provide free tickets, encourage people to donate their time and energy, building that art scene that is so integral to our city's brand. So please welcome Rick McKinney to the stage as he receives the first Mayor's Award for the Arts.
Let me just say a couple of words about business in the arts, which I think is so important for our city. Tom White is here with me as well. Tom has been the face of Unum, working with the arts community for a very long time. We certainly appreciate the work he does. I think Andy hit right on, and you actually heard a couple of the things that we talked about, which is our children and the arts. And I think it's so important that we all appreciate the arts. It is an economic engine to bring people to our city that appreciate the arts and making sure we can attract the best and the brightest as they come here. But it's also important that as a community that we appreciate the arts for ourselves, for our children, we continue to invest in it. So thank you very much for this award. I think it's a great thing to bring to our community, and thank each of the mayors for their recognition. And thanks to all of our Unum employees that support this as well.
Annually at this meeting, we present our Chamber Council Awards. Our 12 councils gave more than 6,500 volunteer hours this past year. One council stands out particularly in helping us reach key membership goals, which obviously is a keystone of that, the East Brainerd Council. Please join me in giving the East Brainerd Council a round of applause. All of our councils are outstanding in their own way, but each year we honor one council that has truly gone above and beyond. One overall winner. This year, I'm proud to announce the winner of the 2016-2017 Council of the Year is the Midtown Council. This year, the Midtown Council has doubled the number of attendees at their regular monthly meetings from last year. They've recruited a significant number of new members. They formed an education advisory panel, and they've established a strong partnership with each and every school in their footprint. One big round of applause. Also, if you want to make the walk from there to here, I have a wonderful piece of glass to give you. So.
I have to move this way down for me. I want to say thank you so much to our board members, to the community of Midtown, and to our members who show up each and every month at our meeting and help make us strong, most especially to our educational community who did do an outstanding job of helping us get stronger in these last few years, and to Ms. Victoria Overholzer, who has done so much work to get us to where we are today, and of course to Richard, our president from last year, and our board who continues to be strong and amazing moving forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Our Chamber ambassadors play a critical role in connecting with member companies. They're the face of our Chamber at our events. This year, we're proud to recognize our Ambassador of the Year, Cindy Steele, with Tandem Financial Partners of Ameriprise. Cindy is here. I had the pleasure of giving Cindy her piece of glass at a meeting earlier this summer, and yes, she needed a wheelbarrow to take it home. Thank you, Cindy, for what you do. In addition, I'd like to recognize our Diamond ambassadors who have worked tirelessly to engage the business members in our community. They are Dana Boland, you can stand, Constant Kaufman, David Hamilton, Pat Meharry, and Eddie Wilkes. And at this time, I invite all of our ambassadors just to stand so that we can acknowledge your contributions. Thank you. Way back there. Thank you. And over there. Now I invite Roy Vaughn, our retiring past chair of the Chamber Board of Directors and Senior Vice President and Chief Communications Officer at Blue Cross Blue Shield, to come to the podium.
Thanks, Bill. A year flies by, and I'm reminded that the Chamber is as vibrant as it's ever been. So to the members who are here, the volunteers who are here, thank you for your investing in our Chamber. It is one of the best in the country, in part because we have tremendous leadership, but also because you choose to get involved and get involved in a very meaningful way. So thank you for being here today. Thanks for being here for the entire year. You know, what we do is create an environment with our elected officials, with the community, to foster economic growth for this region. You've seen in the past year that we've turned our attention really to workforce development and also advocating for the best education for our own children. And you'll see that continue. And as many strides as we've made over the last year, we still have a lot of work to do, which is the perfect segue for my next task, which is introducing to you your next chairman, and that is Mike Sarvis with Cahutta Banking Company. Mike?
Thanks, Roy. He's a communications guy, so he doesn't have to put anything on paper. I do. Roy, it's been a true pleasure to serve with you this year. You set a great example for me and others to follow. You're a great leader for our community, a great advocate for our members, and a great friend for those of us that have had the pleasure to serve with you. So on behalf of the Chamber Board, Chamber staff, and our 2,000 members, I'd like to present you with just this very small token of our appreciation of your commitment and dedication and service to the Chamber and our membership.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Well, there's a lot of people here. I'm really thrilled to be here and honored to have the opportunity to serve in this role. Roy is going to be an extremely tough act to follow. As Bill highlighted earlier, we have had a great Chamber year, and we could not have accomplished the things we accomplished without many of you in this room and all the other volunteers that support our efforts. And we just hope to continue that momentum. As we look into the year ahead, I can tell you that we have an incredibly talented board of directors made up of business leaders and volunteers across our community that are intensely focused and committed to continuing the Chamber's mission. And to that end, I can tell you that we will continue to work closely with our elected leaders and other stakeholders in the community to continue to drive our economic development initiatives. We're going to work with others in the community to further develop our workforce development and education initiatives that Roy mentioned, to make sure that we're preparing and providing the workforce that our community needs. And we'll always have the focus on driving membership value for our members. So to to that end, I guess right out of the gate, I've got 3 favors that I need to ask of everybody here today. Workforce development and education is going to be a huge priority for us this year. So I challenge you to find an opportunity to get involved. Find a place where you can commit to give back, whether that's job shadowing, mentoring, participating in job fairs, career fairs, whatever that is, or any other aspect of the Chat 2.0 initiative. It's going to be imperative that we have everyone in this room find somewhere to get involved. For this to be truly transformational for our community, it's going to take everybody in here. It's going to take a community-wide effort to do that. So I'm going to thank you in advance because we will be calling on you for your support. As we talk about driving membership value, creating value, I would be extremely remiss if I did not highlight the efforts of our councils. We just got the chance to highlight the Midtown Council, but I can tell you that all 12 of our councils are doing incredible work in their footprints. They are very focused and very intentional on addressing issues and opportunities within their specific footprint to make your community and their council better. So if you have not been to a council meeting, if you're not involved in your local council, I challenge you to do so. Find out where they meet, when they meet, and go to one of their general meetings. They have great speakers, and they're doing great work in your footprint and on your behalf, so I'd encourage you to do that. And lastly, as the Chamber continues to serve as the voice of our business community, I encourage you to remember that your input and feedback are vital to our success. With that in mind, please be ready to respond to a public policy survey that you should be getting in your inbox next week. It's imperative that we hear from our business constituents what's important to the success and continued success of your business. So when you get that survey, I really encourage you to take a few minutes, fill it out, let us know what's important to you so that we can draft appropriate policy and make sure we're on top of the issues that are important to your business. In closing, I'd like to thank the Chamber staff. They wake up every single day focused on how to help us grow our businesses and how to make our community stronger. And I've never worked with a more dedicated and focused set of professionals than we have right here in our Chamber staff. So I'm extremely honored to have this role for the next year. Big shoes to fill following Mr. Vaughn. I'm looking forward to an exciting year of continued growth in every segment of our community, and also looking forward to working with each one of you closer throughout the year. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. As we're retiring gavels and passing gavels, I think that it's important for me to point out to you that we have with us today about 14 of our past chamber chairs, which scan probably 78 years. And if you look at these 2 tables right in front of me, you'll think of a tree full of owls. I can't see a wiser group, and it's no wonder that the foundations that they provided over these years could bring us to where we are. So one last applause, if you will. Thank all of our former chairmen for getting us to this place today. Now, last for me. You make a calculated decision, and sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't. I asked the staff not to put this in the program because there would have been a distinct, in fact, highly likely outcome that he wouldn't have attended. But he didn't attend anyway. Before we move on with the program, and on behalf of this chamber, I have one more important recognition. In just a few days, Harold DePriest will leave his office for a new chapter in his life. Harold's been a great friend to our chamber and many of us individually. As the father of the gig, as I call him, he's brought economic growth, economic development, and opportunity to our city and county, which in many ways compares with the local leaders and visionaries who years ago gave this city its lasting spirit and future opportunity. Please join me, even in his absence, in standing as in the simplest but most heartfelt ways we thank Harold for 2 decades of his leadership. Please. Diana and David and your teams, I hope you will take that back. The video will be ready in an hour because he won't believe it otherwise. And now it's my honor to welcome Senator Bob Corker to the podium to introduce our guest speaker today, and I thank him so much for his willingness to be part of our program as well.
Well, it's a great pleasure for me to be here, and while it's a privilege to represent you in the way that I do, and it takes me to countries far-flung. I've spent the August recess, like I normally do, traveling our state, and I've been to 32 counties this month. It's been by far the most enjoyable recess period I've ever experienced. It's been so great to be across this wonderful state, but there's nothing like being home in my hometown. So it is great to be with all of you today. I thank Bill for this wonderful opportunity. And speaking of my hometown, I do want to thank Mayor Coppinger and Mayor Burke for their leadership in continuing to make sure that this city and county's best days lie ahead, and for the way that they work with each other. I want to thank Bill Kilbride for his outstanding leadership of this chamber, someone who had retired but is giving his best years and wisdom again to make sure that our best days lie in front of us. And to Roy and Mike for leading us the way the other 14 who are here with us have done, in such a great tradition of making sure that as we focus on all the great needs of our community, we put up top making sure that heads of households have great paying jobs. So thank you so much. It is easy for me to make this introduction. I do so with great warmth and pride. Bill Haslam, as you know, is one of the greatest governors in our country. I think you know that under his leadership, we have the fastest improving educational standards in the country. Under his leadership, we have over 330,000 jobs that have been created. Under his leadership, we've continued the tremendous tradition of having a balanced budget every year, working with outstanding General Assembly members. Under his leadership, we continue to be one of the best managed states in the country. Under his leadership, we have a AAA rating for one of the first times in modern history. We have no infrastructure debt in our state. And I think you know, especially working so closely with our city, we have the #1 growth in advanced manufacturing in our state of any state in the country. An incredible record of achievement. I think you also know, and we have Volkswagen and Wacker and others who are here to join us, we are leading the country in foreign direct investment. And one of the stats that is really plaguing our nation right now is the fact that our labor force participation has been down around the country, and it's affecting us in many ways. And all of us know what a challenge that is. Yet in the state of Tennessee, our labor force participation is rising. We have more people in Tennessee working today than at any time in our state's history. On a personal note, I've known Governor Haslam for a long time. I met him when he was 14 or 15 and I was 19 or 20. His brother was my roommate in college, and we would gather at his home often to talk about the future, all of which was focused on business. Later in life, I had the good fortune of them encourage me along my way as I began to think about public service, and I will be forever indebted to them for that encouragement. I believe that public service is an honorable profession. I do. And I believe that as public officials, we can certainly create the environment to enhance people's lives and to really change the way that they feel about the future. So it's with a degree of personal pride that I am able to say that I feel like along the way I was able to encourage him in a small way as he began to think about public service. And I say that not to focus on me. I say that because of all the people's lives he has affected in a positive way, will continue to affect in a positive way. Please welcome to the podium the governor of the great state of Tennessee.
Thank you. That was very nice. Thank you. A little overdone, but thank you. Thanks, Bob. Thank you. Thanks. It is great to be here, and as Bob has said, we have been friends for a long time. As a matter of fact, he left out part of the story. I wouldn't be in public service if it wasn't for Bob Corker. I can still remember that. Actually, this is another fun fact. We sort of share a birthday. I think his is today or tomorrow. Mine was yesterday. He's a little bit older than me, and so I can remember when he first talked me into going into public service. At the time, he was the mayor of Chattanooga, and he came to my elementary school to visit my second grade class. He's not that much older. But seriously, when Bob was the mayor of Chattanooga, I started thinking about running for mayor of Knoxville, and without him, I wouldn't have done this. It is a huge honor to be here. I was looking at your previous speaker. So last year was Fred Smith. Arguably Tennessee's most acclaimed business person ever, and maybe one of our country's foremost business people, and I think one of the great thinkers in America, period, about how things work. And then the year prior to that was Senator Corker, hometown hero, former mayor, chairman of the Senate Foreign Relations, known and making an impact all around the world. And so I was a little intimidated that I would walk around the corner and there would be like 83 people here. Or that everybody'd be saying, well, you should have come last year or the year before. It was really good. And then I walked in and saw, man, this is a great crowd. I get to do this all over the state. And let me just hats off to the Chattanooga Area Chamber. This is impressive, the work you do and the people are reflected here. Like I said, I get to see this all around the state. And this is really, really impressive. But it also made me start wondering, like, well, I wonder if everybody, like, did they know I was coming or did they think it was somebody else? Because about 2 months ago, I don't travel like Senator Corker does. About 2 months ago, we were in Asia recruiting business for Tennessee, and we had been in Korea, and we were going to China, and we flew from Seoul, Korea to Hangzhou, China, and we landed. And you know, when you're governor, I'll admit, inside the country, you get a lot of special treatment. So if I fly to Dallas, that, you know, there'll be a Texas state trooper that'll meet you and pick you up, and, you know, you're whisked to a car and taken away. But overseas, you don't get anything special. And so, which, you know, I don't know who I talked to about that, but anyway, we land, and as we land and we're a little bit late, and we land, and we're supposed to go have this recruitment meeting with this company, and so we're grabbing our stuff out of the overhead bins, and my wife Chrissy is with me, and Randy Boyd is our Commissioner of Economic Development. And so it's one of those old external exit planes where you walk, you know, you go down the steps to the tarmac, and as I look out the window, there's a band, and there's all these soldiers at attention, and there's these women holding these huge bouquet of flowers. My wife later told me it was more than the combined total of flowers I'd given her in our whole marriage. But we walk down there, and as soon as I'm thinking, I wonder what this is about. And as soon as we walk out, the band starts playing, and these soldiers come to attention, and they're saluting, and this limousine pulls around, and you know, the mayor's shaking our hand, and they give Chrissy this huge bouquet of flowers, and all of a sudden we're in the limo, and we're taking off, and we're moving. I look to the guy that's kind of our host, and I go, that was really nice, but what was all that about? He goes, well, do you want an honest answer? I said, yeah. And he said, well, the G8 summit is meeting here in 2 months. And President Obama is coming, and we were practicing on you. So I was just a little worried that, like, y'all were practicing on me, and like the real speaker's going to come here in a minute and say, see ya. A couple things. I do have a world of respect for Fred Smith, and he talked last year, And he said something that I bet was a little provocative, and then matched up with some recent news probably is even more so. And Fred made a statement to the effect of that the education system in our country is not preparing the workforce of the future, period. I might not have had that exactly right, but Fred said something pretty strong like that. And if you know Fred, that doesn't surprise you to make a definitive statement because he really believes that and thinks that. And then I know a couple weeks ago, the Sunday Above the Fold, large headline in the Chattanooga Times Free Press was about the percentage of teachers in Hamilton County who are evaluated as below effective, and the higher percentage than other areas. And so it's appropriate that I hear everybody in this chamber talking about workforce development. And I want to come back and talk about that issue. I want to talk about education and what we're doing and what we can do about it, because it is in everything that Fred said I agree with, and obviously the numbers are what the numbers are in terms of what the paper reported. But I want to maybe put that in context and then say, well, what do we do about it? What do we do about this? Before I do that, I'm going to give a quick little kind of update on the state. Actually, Bob's talk did that. I felt like when Bob got up here and said all that, I should have just said, I'm Bill Haslam, I approve that message, and you all have a good day. But a quick summary. There's some really good things happening in Tennessee, and Bob talked about a lot of those economically. I do want to talk about a few of those because Chattanooga plays a big role. We were rated the #1 state for advanced manufacturing in the country. And there's no doubt that a lot of what's happening here in southeast Tennessee is responsible for that. But that's a pretty big deal for Tennessee to be there. 10 years ago, nobody would have said we would be that. And when Brookings Institute comes out and says that, that's a big deal. I won't say who, but several folks in this room were with me yesterday as we were recruiting another company to hopefully come to southeast Tennessee. It says something when you can have an outside group kind of validate what we've been saying, that this really is the best place to do business. So when you're the #1 state for that, that's a big deal. We're also the #1 state for foreign direct investment. Again, obviously, Southeast Tennessee has played a big role in that. Our friends at Volkswagen, and got to just see Christian and his team 3 weeks ago, and then a month or two before that, Wacker, Gestamp. I can keep going. So big part in what's happening there. So there really are some big successes, and maybe one of the biggest is this. In the last year, Tennessee's unemployment rate has dropped faster than any other states. We've basically in 1 year gone from 5.7 to 4.1% unemployment. So a lot of good work being done. And by the way, let me say this. The governor, people go, oh gosh, well, you're governor, unemployment went down. Well, being governor is a little bit like being quarterback of the football team. You get way more credit for the good stuff and way more blame for the bad stuff. The real thing is there are a lot of people like you and others in this room who are going out and selling their communities, and we're coming along and helping. So that's wonderful. The state's financial condition is in good shape. There's been a lot of controversy lately about the fact that the state has an $800 million surplus. I always thought that was a good thing. And all these people are talking about, gosh, you have a surplus, what are you going to do, et cetera. Well, you first should ask, well, how did we get that? And we've worked really hard. The members of the General Assembly, and I wish I had a list of who all is here. I know that Senator Watson is here, Senator Gardenhire, Leader McCormick, Mark Gravitt is here, Patsy Hazelwood. Did I miss anybody else? If I did, I apologize. But they've worked really hard. So we've actually taken $550 million in ongoing expenses out of state government, and that is not easy. As my predecessor, Governor Bredesen, used to always say, everybody wants you to run government like a business until you do, and then they decide they don't like it quite so much. But that's been hard work, so that's one way we have. The second way is the state's economy is doing really well. We basically forecast the revenue into the state in terms of sales tax revenue, what you pay when you go to the store, and then businesses, franchise and excise tax, and we were 2 or 3 points higher on each of those than we thought we'd be in terms of percentage increase. And so the net effect is we're in a really good financial position. We were in that last year too, by the way, and so we were able to do things that we thought mattered. We put the largest increase into public education in the state's history without a tax increase, including over $100 million just to teacher salaries. We invested in our employee salaries in state government because I don't want state government to be a place where people go because it has great long-term benefits, but you don't get paid what you should short term. But we also challenge people, and we put in a performance pay system in government. One of the first times it's ever happening, and it's actually working, and our employees are saying, I like this. I like the idea that the people who perform the best for our customers, that they get rewarded and acknowledged. And we made record investments in the capital structure of the state, higher education, taking care of our own buildings and doing things like that. And we want to do the same thing again next year. So the key to all that is keeping business growing. And if we do that, then the state's revenues will be in a position where we can do so many other things that we'd like to. The state has a AAA rating from the credit agencies for really only the second time in our state's history, and that's obviously important for us as well. The third area is the whole education front. And again, you all have taken, I don't know if you know all this about yourself, but you've taken the lead as well. Our Tennessee Promise, the program for 2 years free of community college or technical school for anybody that graduates from high school, the first in its kind has been remarkably successful. The best way you can know if a student's thinking seriously, a high school student, about going to college is if they fill out the FAFSA, the financial aid form. And some of you have had to do that, and you're nodding your head about how horrible it is. And thanks to Senator Corker and Senator Alexander, we're trying to shrink that. Last year in Tennessee, 71% of our students filled out a FAFSA form, okay? The next highest state was New Jersey at 60%. So it shows how we're changing the mindset of people that think, I really can go to college. And we're doing things to make it when they get there that they're prepared. There was a program pioneered right out of Chattanooga State called SAILS that took the remedial work people used to do in community college and moved it back into high school so they'd be prepared when they got there and they didn't lose heart and drop out. So really good things are happening, and as Bob said, we're still the fastest improving state in the country for education results over the last 4 years. So a lot to be encouraged about. But I want to come back to what Fred Smith said and what the Chattanooga Times Free Press reported. It's not usually my habit to give media free advertising, so, but I did think it's important story, okay? And to say, if all that's true, well then what do we do about it? We're making great progress in Tennessee, but what do we do about it? Let me just start with this. It is a really hard problem, okay? I love that the Chamber is taking this on. I love Chattanooga 2.0. It will make a difference. But know this up front, it is really hard. In this presidential election, and this is a Chamber event, so I won't get political, I'll criticize both sides, okay? In all the debates that have happened on the Republican side and the Democrat side, and I don't know what the total is, I think it's 25 or plus, I bet, if you add both of them up. I bet there has been a minute and a half of conversation about education, despite the fact that it's our biggest national challenge. The nominee on my party has said one thing about education. He has said, we need to do away with Common Core. Well, that's the idea that and he said, we got to remove federal intervention from our local school systems. Well, last year, Senator Alexander led the effort to pass the SSA, which now makes it against the law for the feds to intervene in our local school system. That's a bogeyman that's gone. There's no such thing as Common Core to worry about anymore, okay? And so that's the conversation on my side. Out of the other side, Senator Clinton has really backed up on, I think, maybe one of the boldest things that President Obama has done. President Obama took a huge risk, and like I said, we disagree about a lot of things, but he took a huge risk on one thing. He went against his parties, one of its biggest backers, traditionally the unions, and particularly the teachers' union, and said, I think we need to make certain that every teacher gets an evaluation, and we're going to tie that evaluation to the students' assessments, the end-of-the-year tests that we take every year to measure how much progress a student has made 1 year over the next. It's what the newspaper article was referring to in terms of how much progress a student has made. Obama made a huge political risk in stepping out and saying, I'm going to fight to make certain that the evaluations are tied to the assessments. Senator Clinton has basically said, I don't believe that. Matter of fact, I'm not even sure I believe in this whole idea of end-of-the-year assessments. That is a huge backward step. So you have both national parties really not focusing on what one of the key issues is. And for us in Tennessee, we're the fastest improving state in the country, I think for a lot of reasons, but one of the most basic is this. We said that we are going to use those student assessments to evaluate teachers. Now, there's a million problems with that. We're doing too much testing. It's not, there's too many variables to use that for the teachers. I understand all that. In Tennessee, we're doing something about that. We're cutting the amount of testing by 30% in our schools this coming year. But the answer is not to disassociate how we evaluate teachers from what sort of progress students make. If we do that, we will continue to see these huge gaps between minority students and non-minority students. If we do that, we won't be aware of where we're falling short. And so it's hard because the national conversation is easy to wander off. It's hard for another reason. If we all divided up and said, I'm going to take all 1,300 people in here, we're going to divide up in groups of 10 and go visit schools, and we're going to come back tomorrow at lunch and report and tell me what you learned, I am really confident of one thing. Everybody would come back and say, wow, that's a lot harder than I thought it was. That those teachers are dealing with way more social issues that walk in the front door with that student every day than I ever dreamed. It's not like when I went to school. And in the front door with that student walks family issues and economic challenges and so many other things. And so if you would come back, you would say, whoa, I see why it's so hard. Teachers barely have time to teach what they have to while they're dealing with all the challenges of today's society. And so we could look at those challenges and others and say, this is really hard. But I heard a story that I think sums up what our attitude needs to be. I had the privilege of going to Pat Summitt's funeral. Pat was from a little town called Henrietta. It's just in Montgomery County, Dixon County, just kind of northwest of Nashville, little tiny town. And they later had a big celebration at UT, but the funeral was in this little country church that was her family's church, and about 120 people. And Michelle Marciniak got up and spoke. Those of you who are Lady Vol basketball fans will remember Michelle. She was a long blonde-haired point guard. Her picture was on the cover of Sports Illustrated when they won the national championship. She was the person Pat was recruiting when Pat went into labor and made the famous statement, I'll be danged if I'm not having this baby in Tennessee, let's go home. And so despite being in labor with Pat's indomitable will, flew home, okay? But Michelle gets up at the funeral and told a story. She said, I had no idea what a big deal it was to be a Lady Vol. I didn't know what all came with this. And all the public attention. And when she got there, she was a highly acclaimed recruit. And she said to Pat, she said, I'll do everything you want, but don't make me go speak at all this community stuff. I have a stuttering problem. I'd rather shoot a free throw for the national championship in front of however many people. I'll do that every day, but don't make me go speak in front of people. And Pat's words, if you know Pat, were what only Pat could say. She said, toughen up, Buttercup. And so every chance from then on that there was a speaking opportunity, Pat gave Michelle the chance to go speak. And 3 years later, when they won the national championship and they get invited to the White House, it's Michelle that speaks for the team. And then however many years later, when Pat dies, it's Michelle that gives a eulogy at Pat's funeral. So the fact that it's hard is not an excuse for us to back up. Well, what do? I think we do several things. The first thing is we realize that we are all in this together. At the state, we don't want to be pointing fingers at Elliott, at the local education authorities, and we hope you're not pointing fingers at us. We really want to be in this together. I know your local state delegation is interested in having a public dialogue about this soon, and I hope you'll be a part of that as well. Secondly, talent pipeline is everything. In your business, you focus constantly on the people coming into your business. The talent pipeline is the same thing, and it's the same thing in education. We have to start focusing on that in our education system to make certain that the very best people are attracted and want to stay teaching. The next thing is, it's like everything else, leadership matters. And the whole process of training a leader, I think, has been undervalued. You know, I have a friend who has a statement about his business that says this, said, everybody wins when a leader gets better. And that same thing is true with our principals and our administrators and our teachers. The teacher prep programs at places like UT Chattanooga are really important. And from the state standpoint, we're going to do everything we can to help those be great programs, and we hope you'll be tied into those as well. But making certain that that talent pipeline, the teacher prep programs, and then once teachers get there, that they have real professional development, not just the kind of stuff where you can check off the box of being there for a certain amount of hours. And finally, it's this. At the end of the day, nothing makes a school as great as a community that cares. We have a big political discussion going on in this country right now, right? We've never been more divided. And this election, no matter who wins, that new presidential nominee, the person who wins on November 9th, that morning they're going to wake up as the most unpopular newly elected president ever. And that's just right. I mean, you look at the favorability, unfavorability ratings and look at how the country is split, that's the reality. And yet the challenges are greater than ever. And it's the same thing in education. The issues are hard. They're really hard. And they split along political lines and everything else. But what we need are people who say, at the end of the day, we can argue forever about whose fault it is. But we need people who own it, who say as a community, we're going to own this. And we're going to invest in our schools, both for compensation, but we're going to invest as a community in letting people know that they care. There is nothing greater at stake for our state than that. Let me just wrap up with this. When I was elected, I got a text from Lamar Alexander, who would know because he had been governor, that said, being governor of your home state is one of the best jobs in the world, unless your home state is Tennessee, unless it is the best. In that case, it is the best job in the world. And I feel that way about this job. I really do. And I feel incredible about our potential and the things that are happening, not just here in Chattanooga, but all across the state, as Senator Corker said. But we have to be serious about saying that we're not going to accept excuses when it comes to making certain that people have equal opportunity. Last thing I'll say is this. The big debate in this country, and it's a fair one, is about income inequality. And you cannot deny that. I don't care where you are in the political spectrum, it is real. Okay? The question is, what are we going to do about it? Some people say, well, we can just, we can tax our way out of income inequality, but I can tell you this, the math won't work doing that. The only thing that I think works is giving people a different level of opportunity. And we will never fix our our poverty issues, I think, until we fully address our education issues. It's why I focused more on this as governor than anything else. And it's why I've got I have somebody in our office who reminds me, I've got 859 more days. It's why I'll spend every one of those 859 days making certain that our students have that opportunity to compete with anybody, regardless of their zip code or regardless of anything else about their background. So thank you all. Thanks for being the kind of people who care enough to come to lunch. Thank you to the Chattanooga Chamber for playing a leading role in this. We want to be your partner, and if we'll focus on this, there is nobody in the whole world that can compete with Tennessee. Thanks so much.
Governor, thank you so much. A lot to think about, but after we get thinking about it, then there's a lot to do, and we appreciate that challenge and your motivation. Thank you to everyone who took time to come here today. We are to have a drawing. We promised it. That's why you all stayed through dessert, for 2 tickets on United Airlines out of Chattanooga to New York or to Chicago, your choice. When they told me this yesterday, it was 2 tickets on United Airlines anywhere you wanted to go. So I'm apologizing that we're backpedaling on that, but what a great ride. And so I watched as I was speaking, and they pulled this winner out. Whoa. Megan Roach. Megan? Our work here today is done. You will want to remember that coming up in just a couple of weeks is the Chamber's open house. Watch your online to get that time and date right. It is on September 15th. Open house at the Chamber and in that great alley right behind us. Don't forget also that the Spirit of Innovation Lunch right here on November 9th. That said, thank you again for everything you do. Thank you to all of our elected officials for being here, and we'll see you again along the way. Thank you so much.